Do, do. Oh boy. If Powerball was today, folks, you should have played the Powerball. Because who would have thought?
Clap it
Who
up.
would have thought the one day, maybe this whole season, where we will give Denver their props right here, folks. God, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Denver and the Carolina Panthers, who shake off the donut from the left-hand column today. Houston
Wow.
comes to town. Houston's had a very surprising, overall positive season. And Carolina says, nope, not today, C.J. Stroud. Not today, D'Amico Ryans. Get in that left-hand column.
Yeah, not without some interesting fun at the end of the game, but hey, you take a win how you get it.
In that game, and thank goodness for the battle for New York, because if not for that one, this would have been the ugliest game of the day.
Oh, without a doubt. It still, I think, is the, I don't know. Yeah.
There were goal line stands in this game. There were a lot and goal line stands that, like, okay, here's Dameon Pierce, star running back, coming towards the end, stood up.
It was like the Panthers decided to say, okay, we're going to come to play defensively today, and lo and behold, I give them credit. It's one of those gutty wins, and it's the first win. You got to give them credit. But yeah, like you said, man, it was ugly. It was ugly for sure. There was no offense whatsoever. I think Houston maybe played down a little bit. I don't know. Houston just seemed kind of off. I couldn't really put my finger on it. Just didn't have a rhythm. The run game needs to be a concern in Houston for sure. Like Dameon Pierce has not shown up. Like, I don't know what's going on with that, but all the kudos to the Panthers. You get your win. There you go. Who knows who's going to be on that team come Tuesday, 4 p.m. But hey, if you're leaving that team, you're leaving a winner.
Yeah. I always say, like, that defense, like, it has talent. They play hard, but just the fact that they actually were not exposed today, and maybe like you said, maybe just the fact that Houston was just off. But the defense did look impressive today, and that was able to mask a lot of the deficiencies of that offensive line, which still looked pretty rough today.
Oh yeah, their offense was no better than the last 6 weeks. There's no doubt about it. But their defense stepped up when it had to. I think the play calling in Houston was a little suspect on some things. Yeah, sus. It felt like they almost dumbed down the playbook. There weren't as many. I don't know. Maybe I just missed those plays. It didn't seem like they were really trying to stretch the field as much. I don't know. But, Houston will probably look at this, figure it out, and move on. They've been a pleasant surprise so far this year. You can't really knock them. Like I said, the only thing that really is of concern is the run game. It's not as good as it was last year, so they're going to have to figure some stuff out there. But, they'll move on, and the Panthers begin, the greatest turnaround in league history.
That's all right.
Shooting for that division title. All you need is one win to start. That's all you need.
Frank says day one begins now.
Yeah, that's right. Frank's like, now we came to play.
Yeah, season's only half over, but that's fine.
He wanted to lull the league and be like, you guys think we're this? No, and here we go.
The other clap it up we got to do.
Oh, yes. Yes. We finally have to give the devil his due.
For the first time in 17 tries, that's 8 years, almost a decade, the Denver Broncos have finally beaten the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is a game that you kind of called in the pregame show, albeit in jest.
No, when you call it, you call it. Give the man his due. Give the man his due. Even in joking manners, if it's on tape, if it's in the internet, it's there. It happened. No. I don't know, man. Kansas City looked bad, just bad. Um, I don't know what Denver did. Really, like I couldn't see anything different than anybody else did. I don't know if it's a pride thing, and they were like, well, "This isn't going to happen," and they just decided to play a little harder. And KC kind of just said, it's Denver, like we all do every week. It's Denver, and they were after it. They were in the backfield. They had Mahomes running for his life. This is interesting because the next couple games for KC aren't fun whatsoever.
I know they have the Super Bowl rematch coming up.
Well, and before that, though, they're going overseas and they've got Tyreek and the Dolphins.
Homecoming.
Exactly. And right now, you could say,
Dolphins are better. Could you say the Dolphins are better?
You could say the Dolphins right now. KC is not as dominant as they were last year. So you kind of can move some teams around, in your little tier games and say, there isn't one above them all. And they could lose the next two. Let's be realistic. Yeah. KC could lose the next two. And if they do,
all bets are off.
The AFC is not what we thought it was.
No.
Not
it's
what
just
we thought it was.
Shell game.
It really isn't. At this point, you sit there and say, the conferences are almost equal.
Yeah.
We held the AFC to this high standard because we felt all these teams were going to be great. There could be like 10, 12 teams with 10-plus wins, and what was going to happen? Now you look at the AFC almost halfway through, and it's like, no.
Equal parts mess.
Exactly. Anyone literally can lose. And when Kansas City loses to Denver, it sparks the interest of, is KC going to try to, maybe pick somebody up at the trade deadline? Because the receivers, non-existent yet again,
How much do you think it was Mahomes being under the weather, having the flu the last few days, or Denver's game plan overall, or the weather? Obviously, the snow wasn't seen on the field, but it was still very cold. You still saw a lot of visible breaths coming out of the players' helmets.
Kansas City plays in that weather year-round, not year-round, but towards the end of the year. If Mahomes wasn't ready to go, then he should have said, I can't go. And I understand, you going out there being for your team and all that. Yeah, of course, you give it a try, but that can't be an excuse. If you didn't feel good enough to go out there, then you should have been like, hey, this flu's kicking me. I can't go. Let's put, Blaine in there and see what happens.
The backup champions.
That's right. So no, I don't buy the flu thing. No, it's Patrick Mahomes, the greatest of all. Had a bum leg and can throw the ball falling backwards, can't see anybody, all that fun stuff. No, I'm not buying it. You lost. What happened to the defense? The defense was supposed to be better than it has been in years. I know you're missing Nick Bolton because of his wrist injury, but you still had everybody else.
Well, in the defense's defense,
Mm-hmm.
They gave it 21 points, or at least towards the end there. 21 points
to Denver.
Right, but regardless of who the opponent is, 21 points should be enough for that offense to overcome anyway.
They shouldn't have gave up 21 points to Denver. Like honestly, no, Denver isn't good. Like Denver lucks out when they score 20 points. It's just like a weird anomaly. Like they're not good. That's why like tonight I'm gonna go to the gas station, buy a $10 scratch off, and hopefully win a couple mil. Like no, I can't. Because KC pumps their chest. Everyone's like, no, KC is this dynasty, blah, blah, blah. No, you got your butt whooped by the Denver Broncos. Go lick your wounds and figure it out. No. I can't. There's no excuse. You shouldn't have lost. Patrick had the sniffles. Whoop-de-doo. Beat Denver.
Hey, the Broncos found the end zone. Go out to the corner store. We're paying off the mortgage tomorrow.
All of a sudden, Jared Judy, all of a sudden, a wide receiver in the league. He scores. Oh, Lord. Steve Smith is rolling in his grave.
Ah, yes. Football's favorite ninja.
Yeah, football's favorite ninja, as Steve Smith, likes to call him. But no, Denver went in and Denver did what it needed to do. They beat them. So KC needs to figure it out and come out against Miami and put on a hell of a show. Because if they struggle against Miami, then the questions are well warranted, and everyone's going to be like,
yeah,
maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. Maybe Mahomes can't make everybody around him good.
But put on your best Denny Green impersonation. The Chiefs are who I thought they were.
Exactly, and I'm not taking anything away from Mahomes, but we've put him on this pedestal, and he's deserved it for the most part. But when you're at home against the Denver Broncos, regardless of how you're feeling, you should be able to beat them. That defense should have been able to hold them to like 15 tops.
Yeah, I mean, even Mahomes at 75% should be better than probably 45% of the quarterbacks in the NFL.
Run the wheels off Pachenko. He's there's always 4 plays a game when he's running hard, slamming the ball, grunting and whatever, and everyone thinks, oh, Pachenko's great. And then, there's nothing after that. There it was. If Mahomes was that bad, should have pulled him in the game, put Galbert in, and become a run-first team. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Bravo, Denver. Bravo. I'm legit. Respect to the Denver Broncos. I will give you your due. Next week, probably not, but this week is your week.
Yeah, that's right. Well, speaking of it not being someone's week, it definitely wasn't the Niners' week. They dropped their 3rd straight game. And
oh boy.
In a matchup that could have been a bit sexy, looked like a Super Bowl preview at the beginning of the season. And Brock Purdy, we kind of were questioning, like, should he be playing? It was kind of a late decision, late Saturday night that he was good and cleared all protocols and that sort of thing. But, I guess he got through it. He didn't play. He looked as bad as he did at the end of that Minnesota game. But regardless, they dropped their 3rd straight. The defense looked very pedestrian. Jamar Chase running all over the field. They did get a bit of a gift call on that fumble. I think that was definitely a football move. But you know what? One gift call doesn't equate to a 14-point loss.
No, not at all. And then there's what's going to happen is there's going to be the questions. Was Brock really 100%? Should he have played this and that? My thought is this. If you don't feel like you're 100%, let's stop with I got to be a warrior mentality. Like, if you don't think you're right, then don't play. Like, you're not going to lose the job, Brock. They're not throwing anybody else in who's, next. Sam Darnold isn't taking over for you.
Yeah. If they
Maybe Darnold should have played. Yeah.
If they're not going to give Darnold a shot when you're in concussion protocol, they're not going to give him a shot if you just need a day off.
And like you said, it was just they seemed out of sorts. They didn't have it. It seemed Cincinnati. This is the best Cincinnati's looked all year, without a doubt. Joe was on point. Chase did what he does. Joe Mixon was involved in the offense. So it was a complete game. It was a complete game for Cincinnati. And now we've got to look at the Niners and say, what's going on?
Yeah.
I understand Debo wasn't playing, but still, you still had enough weapons.
Yeah,
you got a healthy CMC. Ayuk is solid. You got Kittle. That defense is solid.
And Kittle actually produced this week.
Yeah, when the Niners can't win, Kittle's all pro, putting up tutties and stuff like nobody's business. I think people are going to start to question the Niners now, and I think they kind of have a right to.
Yeah. Well, let's question them a little bit right now. They start off the season with 5 straight wins. Pittsburgh, Rams, Giants, Arizona, and Dallas. Really, of those 5, the only ones you could say is a quality victory is Dallas.
Right, Dallas, and they should have beat the other ones. They did what they needed to do.
Yep. And then these 3 straight losses are to Cleveland, Minnesota, and now Cincinnati. So, what can we take out of the quality of these losses? Like, okay, is the San Francisco team of the last 3 weeks? Maybe that's the real San Francisco team.
It very well could be. Maybe maybe the Brock Purdy, ride is over. Everyone's like, 12 straight wins, from last year, from when he started, and there was the aura, and I understood why. Hey, the guy went in, looked unbelievable. Hey, you give the guys due. But now you've got to sit there and say, all right, man, 3 losses in a row. You're the starting quarterback. There's no passes for you. Like, what's going on? Now, Debo was out. I understand that. But like I said, you still have plenty of weapons. So now the question is if they lose next week, then there's a serious problem there. And maybe you need to really think about it. Maybe Brock isn't it. You don't want to say that because the guy has shown he can move the ball. Of course, I'm going to use the term I dislike greatly, game manager. But he rarely made mistakes. Now all of a sudden, I don't know if he's pressing too much. Maybe Debo was maybe a little bit of a crutch for him. I don't know. But
the book is out on Brock, as they say.
Yeah, now the book is out there. Now that defense needs to step up and help them.
Yeah, because Cincinnati, despite their slow start, despite Burrow's calf, they're still kind of right, maybe a little farther behind than they should have been, but they're still right about where they are. They're right in the thick of things. But Cleveland and Minnesota, who granted have not been great clubs this year, both of them are still better than Pittsburgh, the Rams, the Giants, and the Cardinals. So those two losses really are better than those 4 wins.
Yeah. So now you sit there and say, okay, what is San Francisco? Where are they in the hierarchy of the NFC right now? Right now it's the Eagles and I guess you could say the Lions. I think after next week, if the Cowboys beat the Eagles, then they're it.
Yeah.
Now, so then there's Seattle. There's Seattle. I don't know. I want to give them. I need one more stamp win from them. One more all right, here they are, because they should have finished Cleveland off from start to finish.
Yeah.
They can't let teams sneak in like that.
Especially
if it's a team that's got some offense.
Yeah, and that's barely getting by Cleveland without Watson.
I'll give Seattle their due. 5-2, you can't knock it, but right now, yeah, they're probably the 4th best team. I'll give them 4th best team in the NFC.
Yeah, and speaking of Seattle, back to Cincinnati. Imagine where they would be if they just played in the NFC West. Their 3 straight wins are all over NFC West teams. Arizona, Seattle, and now San Francisco.
Just move them in. Move them into the end. There you go. Swap some teams. There it is. I give, Geno's good. I'm not taking anything away from them. I just need I need the complete game. And, the question then is, if Watson plays that game, do the Browns win?
Yeah.
If he gets over the headache or whatever ailment it is this week, if he gets over it, do they beat Seattle? Yeah. But you can what if all day. You got to give Seattle their due. Right now, if you ask me, the top 5 teams in the NFC, I would say Eagles. Nope, I'm still gonna go Lions because I trust the Lions more right now.
Yep.
I'll go Dallas. I'll give you Seattle, and I'll throw the Niners in 5 because I think the Niners are in some trouble.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'll give Seattle their due, but I need a complete game.
Yeah. Are you pretty confident now that Joe Burrow's shaking off that calf injury and Cincinnati and the Cincinnati we see right now is the Cincinnati that we should be seeing?
I think we're about there. I'll say yes. I think now after this game, teams in the AFC are like, okay, all right, it looks like Cincinnati's back, and the two teams that really need to watch this are Buffalo and KC. Because everyone was like, Buffalo last year was the team and this and that, and that's what they were supposed to be this year, and they've basically choked that away. So, and then Kansas City. Who knows what's up? Who knows what Kansas City is? Like
Yeah.
it's tough sledding in Kansas City. It's not all rainbows and happy joy. I'm glad Taylor's there and yay yay yay, but it's not good. So since he could be the team that all of a sudden goes on the hot streak, and those teams are looking up at them. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of looking up, there's a lot of quarterbacks this week that we'll be looking up. And this is obviously the big one, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. The first one we're going to start off with is a quarterback of a shade of blue, those Houston Oilers baby blues. And speaking of blue, I believe you've got a nice little beverage of sorts in a pretty blue can.
oh yes, I do. I have a You're My Boy Blue, a blueberry wheat ale. Whoop, there we go.
You're my boy, Blue.
You're My Boy Blue. Well, one of the great movies of our time. Very very light blueberry taste, I must say.
Oh, I like my blueberry big and powerful.
Yeah, well, this one isn't big and powerful. Kind of, it is light, and after the blueberry taste, there's really nothing behind it. So I don't want to say disappointed, but I was hoping for that, like you said, that blueberry hit, and then nice little weed at the end. But I can't complain. It's not bad. You're down here over at FloridaVBrewing.com. Give you a little shout out. Go ahead, hop on there. Find you your boy Blue.
And Blue, of course, leads us into our first quarterback situation. Now, this one wasn't necessarily an injury, but Tennessee had a very interesting tactic going into this week with Ryan Tannehill on the shelf, and they were going to platoon Malik Willis and Will Levis. And Will Levis started. He had a few good plays. He was doing a good job balancing, getting Henry involved.
Mm-hmm.
Got a first down on a QB sneak. And then they brought in Malik Willis, bobbled the snap, wound up fumbling it. Levis comes back in, and Levis never let go of the joystick after that one. Wound up with 4 touchdowns on the day, 3 of which to DeAndre Hopkins, back from the dead. Yes, DeAndre Hopkins is still playing in the NFL, folks. And Will Levis, the first quarterback with 4 passing touchdowns in his debut since the immortal Marcus Mariota.
Wow, look at that. Marcus still relevant. Yeah, I didn't understand the whole let's throw, Willis in and see what happens. Like, you haven't used them. There were rumors last year you were going to trade them. So, like, why do this? Like you said, the guy bobbles the snap and then you don't see him again. Like, let's not do this. You know that Will Levis was going to be your guy. Stick with him. And he was great today. He was great. He's got that big arm. I believe he's Tennessee's future. There's no doubt. He's Tennessee's future.
He showed off that arm. There were a couple plays where he was throwing it off his back foot, and he was just humming it downfield right on the money. And I'm like, where was this kid all preseason? He looked like he was a little kid lost in a department store.
It was like, yeah, it was one of those things where I don't know if they just didn't want to give him a chance, and they just wanted to be loyal to, Tannehill, which I get, but there's a point where you have to look at your franchise and say, this isn't where we're at. We need to move on. So he had some great touch, some sideline passes, which I thought were impressive. That's some nice touch. Overall, he's the guy who needs to start because, there's still rumors and rumblings about, Henry getting traded. Even D-Hop has come up in some conversations. This team could look drastically different on Tuesday. So if Will's going to be your guy, let him be your guy.
Now my Colts and the aforementioned Texans couldn't help you out and bring the rest of the NFC South back down to Tampa's level.
But
hey, at least the first place Falcons were brought back down a notch for you.
Hey, there you go. That's what you get. Hey, you take whatever victory you can get. And if the Falcons can lose, so be it. I'll take what I can do.
Yeah, and it seemed. I mean, maybe Ritter was hurt, and I just happened to miss it on the game. But he was pulled at one point for Taylor Heineke, the man, the myth, the
Mm-hmm.
legend, the man who almost beat Tom Brady, and route to a Super Bowl.
Almost.
And Atlanta, they looked a little bit more like the mortal Atlanta that we've been used to seeing this year.
Yeah. Bijan got in the end zone.
Yeah,
There was some Bijan sighting, so I guess he's not sick or the headache or whatever was going on last week. Uh,
it should get him more involved, though. It took him a while to get some legs
yeah.
under this game, and then by the time he found the end zone, it was way late.
Yeah, it's weird because, before this week, last 2 weeks, he was steady diet. It was the Bijan show and then everybody else. So I don't know if there's just some confusion about what they want to do there with the offense, but yeah, basically Atlanta needs a quarterback. Let's just be realistic. It's going to be, all right, Ritter, but if Heineke they feel is maybe the hot hand, maybe we'll see him. I don't want I don't want it to turn into that where it's like, all right, well, whoever has the hot hand that week is going to play because your offense isn't going to gel. You're not gonna flow. You're not going to win games that way. If you don't believe in Ritter or you think he's not the guy, then just bench him. Go with Heineke. Just get your first round draft pick and see what you can do. Or maybe trade some people. Talk to Chicago. Maybe Justin Fields is your guy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, you're not using Kyle Pitts very much, so there you go. Let's be realistic. Kyle Pitts is like he came out of college, University of Florida. He was, people were calling him the unicorn,
Yeah.
and he was, it was this guy has talent. He was unbelievable. This year, unless he's jumping up and screaming, he's not getting the ball consistently. He's like a forgotten guy on the offense. So you could use him as a trade chip. Get what you can for him. Get more picks. Do what you got to do. Because right now, your quarterback situation's in a rough spot. Yeah, you're going to win some games, but it's not going to be anything great.
Kyle Pitts is the little kid on the windowsill at recess, while Kirk Cousins and Justin Fields are out playing in the yard, wondering when or if one of them will come play with him.
Exactly. So Atlanta, I think this is just what you see is what you get with Atlanta. They'll get some wins in, but overall, they need a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, and Tennessee, they got the win today. Hats off to you. The season's probably still not looking that great, but at least the future looks a little more stable now because Levis pretty much looks legit.
He looks like he's the deal, and that's what you should be playing for. You're playing for your future. So if that means you got to trade off some of the old parts, then that's what you do.
Yeah. Something that did not look too legit today is the Battle of New York.
It's like they didn't want it. No one wanted it.
Nobody wants the apple.
No, the apple was rotten today. Oh my Lord.
And now without being able to tie into this little QB carousel discussion, Tyrod Taylor goes down. So now the Giants are down 2 QBs. Are looking like a significantly lesser version of last year's 49ers. Enter Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito. I'm going to give Tommy DeVito his props, man. Had a rushing touchdown in the loss, man. Hey, you know what? Maybe Tommy DeVito's the next Brock Purdy. Maybe he's the guy who's going to spark this thing. Because I don't know how severe the ribs are for Tyrod and Danny Dimes. Who knows? It's a neck injury, and from what I've seen, from what I've heard and stuff, it's a little more severe than they thought. So Tommy could be starting next week.
Yeah. Now, that one way or the other, that doesn't super improve the Giants' chances, especially in their division. But the Jets are now 4-3. Who would have thought?
Look at that!
Who would have thought?
4-3. Just in time for the, another couple weeks. I'm sure all of a sudden the Aaron Rodgers talk. I'm ready to come back. Yada yada yada, and first game he'll blow it all out again, and he'll never come back. But 4-3. Hey, it's ugly, but it's 4-3.
Yeah, what was when they switched my game over when the Atlanta game was done, and they switched it over to the Jets for like a few. They didn't even let me watch the end of the game because they had to get to Cincinnati. Um, but they switched this over, and I think it was like right after the game was tied, and the announcers were like, "This is the best ugly game you'll ever see."
Like, how do you say that? Like, what does that even mean? The best, like it makes no sense.
Yeah,
But
don't put makeup on a pig. Come on.
at the end of the day, the Jets did what they needed to do. They won the game. Wasn't pretty. Their defense held up, but they should have held up against this mess of the Giants that they have. It is what it is. Like, I don't think you take anything from this tape at all. If you're the Giants, you're like, okay, we lost. We don't know who our quarterback is. Well, at this point, I think it's Tommy DeVito, but we'll see how what happens this week with Tyrod, and then you go from there. Like, if you're the Giants, you really have to look at it and say, okay, this is where we're at. Are we a playoff contending team? Yes or no?
Yeah. And that one, so that takes us into our next one. And Pittsburgh got off to a really rough start today against Jacksonville. Kenny Pickett did wind up getting hurt. So the forgotten man, Mitch Trubisky, comes in. He did show a little bit of life to this offense. He got George Pickens in the end zone. They started moving the ball a little bit, but Jacksonville was already in command of this. Travis Etienne had a huge game. So Pittsburgh, are they better off or worse off with Mitch Trubisky versus Kenny Pickett?
If you can't run the ball, it doesn't matter.
Paging Najee Harris.
Yeah, like let's be realistic. Yeah, Mitch brought in some energy, but he still looked like Mitch Trubisky. For every great throw he makes, there's 7 to 10 where you're like, what are you doing, man? So, and you can't hang your hat on your defense this much as Pittsburgh does. Like, Pittsburgh they're just not good. They're okay.
Like we always say, even the greatest defenses get tired if they're out there too long.
And Jacksonville was able to plug away till they were able to hit some decent chunk plays, and there it is. They had some turnovers, some picks, and they beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. That's it.
Does this win make you feel a little bit more confident in Jacksonville getting the consistency they need to be the Jacksonville we thought they were going to be?
I think this game was good for them in the sense that they went to a hostile environment and played well. Because let's be honest, you go into Pittsburgh, it's tough to play. Let's be realistic. You got those towels swinging. There's some. It's tough. You see these guys, and it's like, okay, it's Pittsburgh. There's that aura.
Yeah, impossible to kick, and that obviously affects field position, not just goals.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, the Jags stuck with it, and they beat the Steelers. Did what they needed to do. So now, yeah, I'm a little more confident. I'm still not ready to hand them the keys to the conference anytime soon. But you beat Pittsburgh, you beat Pittsburgh. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely ready to hand them the keys to the division at this point, but yeah, not the conference.
So I give them credit. They grinded it out. Again, Travis is the man. He's the man that makes that engine run on that team.
Yeah, and that's now 4 straight games with him having really elite type of production. So Trevor finally realized his boy was in the backfield, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, this guy's really good. I'm not worried about Calvin Ridley that much. Let me rock with my boy Travis over here, and let's see what we can do. And teams are going to start to hone in on him, but it's going to open things up for Kirk and Ridley, and even Evan Ingram. So,
yeah. Of course, the big one of the day. Do you think Minnesota is regretting not trading Cousins earlier now?
Well, no, they're probably regretting giving him the no trade clause.
Yeah.
Because Kurt wasn't going anywhere. He said it. He wasn't going to leave. And now, whatever you can get. Yeah, and his future's in. Let's be realistic. He's got to come back. He's an older quarterback, so he's gonna have to, work harder to bounce back. Is a team gonna take a chance on him? That's the situation. So now you're Minnesota. There have been talks about teams inquiring about Hunter, their D end. He's probably the only piece that you would probably move, on that team. You'd hold on to everybody else. Pretty young team, for the most part on that offense and such. Now they're just going to have to gut out the rest of the season. I don't know what they're going to do. It's not like they're going to go out and trade for a decent quarterback. They're probably going to work with what they have.
The sad part about the especially sad part about this is they are now 4-4. This team got off to a miserable start, and we were like, "Well, just write this team off. Vikings are garbage." And now they fought their way back to 4-4, and that is only a game and a half behind the Lions. The Lions are still look very good, but they've definitely shown some chinks in the armor. So if this 4-4 doesn't all of a sudden look as good as it would have been if Cousins didn't just get hurt.
Cousins is the heart and soul of this team. Let's be honest. Cousins made that all. For all the things that people dump on Cousins for and all that, he still puts up numbers year in and year out. And he makes that offense run. So now the question is, you've got this kid Hill that they put in. He only threw the ball like 4 times in the game. So you've got him, and then what else? The running back that you have right now isn't a real banger. He's more of a receiving back. So what is your offense now? It's tough now in Minnesota. You almost have to say, you know what? Let's just, we'll play hard, of course, but you got to start looking to next year. And if that means trading Danielle Hunter, then that's what you do. Get your picks, get what you can for him. Because in theory, Kurt isn't coming back. That's what everybody believes. Yeah. So you were already playing on borrowed time. This was like a last-ditch, effort for the playoffs and maybe some magic. Well, that's gone. So now it's time to sit there and say, okay, what's our future? And start building.
Do you think that, let's say, season's over, Minnesota's kind of bottoms out now that they're serious question mark quarterback? Where's the most likely definite destination for Kirk now? Because now it's more or less final that he's going to be gone. There's no way he's going to come back to Minnesota after he's been hurt. Do you think it's someplace like Chicago where they can draft a young guy, have him sit for a little while? Or do you think it's a place like Atlanta that has a young guy but it has question marks around him?
If you're Kurt, it's a situation of you want to go somewhere where you can win now. I don't think San Fran is totally out of the realm. Like, I really don't. Like, let's say Brock really bottoms out. Like, let's say for some reason they end up playing maybe 500, a little bit above 500, get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Let's say that happens. If Kirk comes in, the offseason, he's healed, and they're like, all right, we'll give you a 1-year prove-it kind of deal, whatever, here we go. I take my chances with him there. He makes that offense better. Now you're not playing Debo just, at that hybrid running back, wide receiver bit. You're going to put him out there. You're going to set and make him run some routes. He's going to be the wide receiver because you got a guy who can sling the ball. So I wouldn't totally sleep on San Fran, but yeah, Atlanta could be a spot. Maybe they feel, you put him in and he can take them on a run, but I think Kurt wants a chance to win. He wants to be on a contender.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to be on a project.
Well, to be fair, with the defense Atlanta has, maybe a couple extra pieces in the draft. With the defense they have, and with Bijan Robinson, plus Pitts, plus London, that actually looks a lot better with someone like Kirk Cousins as opposed to what they have.
It's true. Like, their defense is solid, but their defense has some age on that line. So, no, they could probably pull off 11 wins, But if I know that I have a chance to get in San Francisco with what they have, and with CMC, I don't have to worry about a dang thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bijan's great, but all of a sudden Bijan's got a headache. He's out like he's been, kind of off the map for 2 games. Is there anything going on there? Like, I don't know. It just seems something just seems off in Atlanta to me. If I'm Kurt, I'd rather go to San Fran.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If everything's equal, you obviously want that defense over.
Yeah.
Plus CMC and Kittle.
Yeah. Plus I don't trust the coaching staff in Atlanta. Like, some of their play calling is just really suspect to me.
Yeah. Again, as I noted, as I hinted at before, I apologize. My Colts couldn't help you out and knock off the Saints.
It's all right, can't have everybody doing it for me. I gotta do some stuff myself. It's all right. It's understood. Yeah, thanks, Uncle Rico.
I think this is where I'm wearing this just because they got their first win, but I'm not running away.
Yeah, I wasn't wearing that hat. I wasn't wearing that hat. No.
Oh, I'm not running away from the shoe quite yet, but I will admit this appears to be sort of the beginning of the end of the season for us. Hopefully we can at least beat the Panthers next week while I'm in attendance to break my losing streak of watching the Colts live in person.
All right, so I got a question for you. So let's say, you're there, and the Panthers win 2 in a row. At that point, do you sit there and say, it's a hell of a run?
No.
No, not even if Uncle Rico stinks it up.
No, because I can't write off this current era, so to speak, on an injury. If it was a situation where AR was healthy the whole season and we just were not utilizing properly, that would be one thing. Because then it's like, all right, this is like my Knicks fandom. I'm just letting myself be emotionally abused every year.
So you're telling me next year, if the same thing happens, he's run more than he throws, gets hurt, then that's when you say, okay, the time's come.
And next year might be the case. Next year, if they haven't shown me something that they can put together, then next year might be the case.
Okay.
We'll see though. I don't want to be that guy, but
stop flirting with other franchises, buddy. You're either in or out. Stop flirting with them. You burn the stuff, you get rid of it, you move on. It's a cleansing situation, believe me, I know.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The box is gone, right? The box doesn't exist anymore.
I literally have 2, besides the Brady cutout there, and then the 2 pictures there. That's it. I have nothing. It's all gone. I sold it all. It's gone. I get
Wow.
Nope. Once they kicked them like they did, I said, peace out, Cub Scout. I said, I don't need to be part of this mess.
You knew exactly how that was going to go.
I found where I was meant to be. I found it.
Sunny shine.
It just took 6 Super Bowls in 20 years. But, those things happen.
Yeah. All right. We touched on Cleveland, Seattle earlier. We kind of snuck that in to the Cincinnati discussion. The only other games, Baltimore did what they're supposed to do. They beat Arizona, despite Arizona making a little bit close at the end. And Philadelphia, they won, but they were down, 14-0, 17-10 to Washington. It took a while to get back and close this one out. I mean, is there anything quick to take out of either of these games?
There was some play calling on Washington that was suspect. Like, they went for a 4th down, which I don't think they should have. But, I understand. I guess in a way they felt like there was blood in the water and they were just trying to, end it. But Philly stuck around and got the win. That's, because Philly, in the record, we would sit there and say, well, that's what championship teams do. They find a way to win. And, if this was somebody else, we would have been like, yeah, well, y'all got lucky, but if, you lost, Jalen looked solid. The defense, they're nicked up, especially in the back, especially, cornerbacks and stuff. So they've got to, clean some things up, but it's a division win. They won. Wasn't pretty. I give Washington some props. Sam Howell looked good. He made some great throws. I think there were a couple balls that, Scary Terry could have caught and he didn't. They maybe not necessarily the best thrown, but they were there and could have been caught. So I think Washington kind of has to take it as, we can play with, like with the Eagles and higher teams like that. We just have to learn to finish. I think this is what is going to be the end of Riverboat Ron. I think maybe they'll let them finish the year. They're not a playoff team.
Yeah. I don't.
They'll let them, do whatever, and then they're gonna look for their next coach. But they've got some pieces there, like they're legit. There's talk of some guys on the D line getting traded, Young and Sweat. Those guys, one or both may not be there come Tuesday. So this team defensively may look a little different, but they're young. They can throw the ball all over the yard. So I think Washington has some good things to look forward to.
Do you think that based on now Philly, we talked about this in preseason, Philly has their gauntlet stretch coming up now. They get in the next six games, they get the Cowboys twice, starting off next week. They get the Chiefs on Monday night, Super Bowl rematch, and they get the Bills, the Niners, and after the second Cowboys game, they got the newly minted first place Seahawks. So Cowboys twice, KC, Buffalo, San Francisco, and Seattle have what you have seen out of the Eagles to this point in the year make you confident they'll get through this death stretch still looking fairly unscathed and status quo unchanged.
Let's be honest now. Now, if we really look at those teams, all right, Dallas, I'd say they'd split. Because we've always said division games you split, right? We've always said that.
So and right now, they're kind of like that.
Yeah. Dallas had, Dallas played well today. I'm not going to take anything from them. They played the Rams, but, they put some points up. That defense is great defense. KC, I don't think anyone's really scared of KC anymore. Because when Denver beats you, now it's like, no, I don't mean it that way. But let's be honest. KC is not KC of last year or the year before. So there's some holes there. Let's be real. Buffalo, the Giants almost beat them. we were a Hail Mary away from beating them.
Yeah.
Okay? San Fran just got waxed by Cincinnati. So the beginning of the season, this looked like a gauntlet. To me, not as much. It's maybe a couple speed bumps.
Okay, so let's say they get through this at 5-1, 4-2 worst. Do you think that's a fool's gold?
No, I think it's legit. 4-2, I'll give them that. Like the only team that honestly they should beat KC and they should beat Buffalo. So the only losses I'll give them one to Dallas because we split because it's division. Maybe San Fran. I'll give you that. Maybe San Fran finds what's ailing them and they get back on it. But no, 4-2. No, they're still, I believe, on that path. Now if Dallas handles them twice, then it's a whole new story. It's a whole okay. So now you're sitting there saying Eagles, Dallas, San Fran. Not even. You're saying Eagles, Dallas, Detroit, Seattle, and then everybody else.
Let's say if Philly drops 2 games to Dallas, Detroit does not leapfrog them.
Detroit becomes number 2. I'd give them number 2, but I got to see what San Fran does. But I'll give them number 2. I think Detroit is that team where people want to believe they're it, but they're still hesitant. Yeah. And I think same thing with Seattle. Like when you let Cleveland, led by PJ there, hang around, then everyone's like, Like I said, they're a division leader right there. They're one top 4 in the NFC. They get that. They're there.
Yeah.
So I give them that credit. I will give them that. But, right now, the Eagles, they pull it out. It's not pretty, but they win. And you got a receiver who's gone 6 games straight with over 125 yards a game and like 2 tutties. The guy's ridiculous. Tennessee that was the stupidest trade ever. Tennessee basically let A.J. Brown do, all right, you're gone. Didn't want to pay him. Imagine what Will Levis and A.J. Brown would be.
Yeah.
Imagine what that team would be. DeAndre on one side, A.J. on the other. You'll never know because Tennessee decided just to throw him. Here you go. Yeah, we'll trade you on draft night. No problem. And now the Eagles are sitting there going, "Thank you."
Especially now that you got Levis. I mean that they would be up the Jaguars' tailpipe right now.
Yeah, let's be realistic.
The defense has not played that bad.
No, the defense isn't horrible. It's a decent defense. Yeah. It's decent. It's not world beater, but it'll keep you in game. They'll keep you in games. But you give away A.J. Brown, and now the Eagles are like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Are the Eagles going to ask about Derrick Henry and be like, yeah, we'll take him, whatever, blah blah blah, we'll throw him in there. At that point, you're good to go. You only have to run Derrick Henry like 10 times. He'll get it 70, 80 yards. He'll be good. He'll be fresh for the playoffs.
The Philadelphia Titans.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're turning into. Keith Byard's there now. Why
that's
not?
Right. That's right. He played today.
Let's be realistic. And if they're stupid enough to pick up the phone when Howie calls, that's on them.
Yeah. Before we turn our attention towards some primetime games, let's look at this Sunday nighter. And we did talk about it a little bit in the pregame show. Based on what you've seen today, are you more confident, less confident, or status quo that the Chargers may have a little bit of stress and hot seat under them? Or
I don't know what the hell the Chargers are going to do, man. I don't know what the Chargers are going to do. I want to like the Chargers so bad. I want to be I want to go buy me one of powder blue jerseys with Herbie's name on the back and just root for them because they're fun. I can't do that because they're absolutely so Jekyll and Hyde-ish. I don't know. For all I know, they're going to lose by 20 tonight. I know they've got receivers banged up tonight. There've been some injuries they were talking about earlier today. Some questionable guys. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know. The Chargers, if they're going to do anything, every game, it almost feels like a must-win for them. It really does. So they need to beat the Bears.
And every game needs to feel like a must-win, but also when you play teams like the Bears, you almost kind of have to beat them all by 30.
Exactly. You almost have to literally put your foot on their neck, snap them by halftime, so I can say, you know what, I'm done watching this. It's time to go to bed. I know what's going to happen, but who knows? Exactly. But it's the truth. You don't. Fields isn't playing. His thumb still hurts, so he's not playing. So you're going to have, the arm wrestling guy's kid playing again. And who knows? The Bears are going in with no preconceived notions. If you were to tell me the Bears win by 3, with 3 seconds left, I'd believe it because the Bears no one believes in them. So they have no pressure. Yeah. So these guys, DJ Moore might go off for two touchdowns and $130. Who knows?
I hope not. I'm going against them in a league.
Oh, well, then you're doomed, man, because this is how it always works with you every week. You always have that guy with the one, and you get waxed, bro. You need to look at this and say, no. Put in just somebody who sits the bench. They'll get you 5. Just take it. But no, the Chargers need to go in and really just handle business. And if they can't, come Monday, someone's job should be up.
Yeah. Well, we handle business. Our jobs are not up for grabs. We're hitting the Monday morning quarterback to wrap for all the reaction you just watched, plus wrap up of the Sunday night game and a little preview for the Lions and Raiders on Monday. Bucks McGee, what was your favorite thing about week 8 thus far before we say goodnight to YouTube land?
Wow. My favorite thing? Well, first of all, again, congratulations, Seattle. I don't want y'all to feel, left out, much respect Yes. Dre, Seattle, I give you credit. You guys are the division leaders. Just make sure you finish strong. But my kudos today, the Denver Broncos. Russ cooking. There you go. Congratulations, you Denver fans. You get one day this year. Congratulations.
Let's ride actually rides for a night.
That's right. It actually means something good.
Later, peeps. Thanks for watching and tune into our audio podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts Monday morning. Have a good night. Enjoy some primetime football.